Hi, welcome to my craft room. I'm on page 3 of our holiday catalog, and we are going to make this beautiful 3D ornament. All it takes is this one stamp, and we're going to use our framelit to cut those out. I have made several of these, and this is just one of them. And with this one, I use the red button from the Brights. This is the Red Riding Hood ink pad, and it's the new foam pad. And oh wow, is this make it easy. You just barely touch your stamp to that pad and it's inked up and ready to go. I am using Whisper White cardstock, and I have cut strips 2 3/8 by 11. You need to stamp this 18 times. And so I have already stamped an additional panel out, and the Scott's removable tape becomes your best friend. Really makes this so much easier with working with the framelits. And fortunately, I have a friend who has loaned me her set of framelits, so I get to cut these out in half the time. So buddy up with someone who owns these framelits. It really makes it go much faster. You want to match it up at that point at the base, and then make sure your top is having a slight little border on it. We're using tab 2 on our big shot, and then we'll sandwich this and then run it through. I want to show you a couple of little tips. If you pull this from the left side and gently pull that tape up, you can reuse that tape over and over and over. And now when you go to punch that out, put pressure at the top first to remove it, because that's the location that it seems to really want to stick. Okay, gently pull that off and then remove it off of your image. And press at the top, and then the rest will come right out. Now I'm at the end of that panel of cardstock, and you need to put your framelits, position them every other image. And so what I recommend is to go between those 3 and then that extra one. Those framelits just don't butt up side by side very well. Wow, I've got them all cut out. It's time to start using my bone folder. And there's different thoughts on this. Some people think that, you know, using the scoring tool makes it easier, and there's pros and cons. I tried both of them. So I've chose the bone folder to break down the fibers in this cardstock, and I'll tell you why I didn't go with the scoring tool, because if you don't have it precisely right down the middle, it just does not want to be as precise for you. It's just not as even. Okay, so once you get those all done, now here's something that I found that makes it so much easier. Can you see how I'm kind of working that cardstock gently, just kind of pressing it in? Start at that point, and if you see that one side is a little bit higher than the other, what you want to do is just turn it around, and it seems to be easier than to just be able to work that higher side down a little bit and then get the two to match up. Now I'm doing this really slowly for you so you can really see what I'm talking about, but really, man, I can whip these things out. I've made a bunch of them. Okay, and now the second key point is the top, and make sure that that matches, and if it doesn't, like I said before, flip it around the highest, the side that's the highest, then work it to the other side, and you'll be able to work it together. And then the center is very easy. Then just take your fingernail and crease it on both sides and keep going. You only have 17 more to go. Oh, look how good that looks. I'll tell you, this is work that just is repetitive, but as crafters, we don't mind a bit, do we? Okay, now, once again, I'm going to repeat that for you. Just kind of comb that in. You want to have it so that that very point that matches right up. And once you do a few of these, you will really see what I'm talking about. And just kind of pinch it once. You can see my fingernail. Just kind of pinch it once you get it together so that it stays. There we go. And now we are ready to take your fingernail and just crease one side and then the other and set those aside. There we go. It's all done. Okay. This is something great to do while you're watching TV. If you're able to work and watch TV at the same time, it's just one of those things that you just keep doing, and is pretty soon you become so used to doing it, it just falls together. I've got to where I can really produce these. I've taught a couple of classes on making these ornaments, so I've gotten pretty fast at it. Now, for those of you who that sew, you'll really understand the purpose for this. When you sew, you always press in between. Well, that's just what you're doing here with this bone folder. It's like you're pressing this to get really sharp creases. Now you want to stack this in threes. And this is a candle holder that I no longer use, so I recycled it and brought it into my craft room, and it is fantastic for putting this multi-purpose glue into. You can leave the lid right off, and this way the glue is right at the tip all the time. You do not want to be heavy-handed with putting this glue on. It does not take that much. And you want to make sure that they're going in the same direction. I've made that mistake too many times. And just wiggle those together to move that glue around so you don't have any clumps of glue. Match your top and bottom, and then you want to get your folded edges right together as close as possible. And now, once again, crease that. Put your finger in between that, and now bring in the third one. So you're going to wiggle, wiggle, get that glue so that it's even, matching your top and your bottom. And now you're going to get those to match up. And voila, you've got it made. And this is really an important tip. Lay it flat, and you want to separate those layers. And if you get a little bit of glue coming out of that and it sticks, you will see how important it is to pull those apart at this point so you don't have those stuck together. Okay, match that tip up. Okay, lovely. Now we're ready for the third one. And if you go to my blog, I'm going to have all of the information on the sizes and all the different products I've used to create this. And now you can subscribe to my blog, girls. So go in there and do that. I've got all the information on how to do that. Now you can see where this is stuck. That's what I was talking about. That's easy to happen. And now just take your finger and run up there to make sure there's no glue, and let those dry thoroughly. I've taken my dazzling diamonds and put into a tray, and you can see I've got a lot of it in there because I really want to have freedom of glittering these. The two-way glue pen is the one of choice. This is so easy to go right along that white edge. So you want to cover that well. And I always pump my two-way glue pen on my craft pad before I touch it to my stamped image. That way I'm sure that it's full of ink. And now I'm going, you can see right along those edges, I want everything to sparkle. So really generously cover this. And then once we get that done, then I'm just going to swish it around in that glitter to get those edges. Tap off the excess. And then set this aside and let this dry thoroughly. Pretty, pretty. Okay, for the base for my ornament, I'm using a 1 1/4 inch circle. And I'm putting my multi-purpose glue around about half of that outer part of that circle. You do not need to have it in the center. And you see that I've already got my ornament laid out, and the position is going to be going. And you just want to put it right into that glue, and you want to bring those in as close as possible, but yet you want those to be across from each other. I'm taking my bone folder and I'm putting right in the center of these ornaments. And can you see how some of them are moving ever so slightly? Now make sure it's in there good. But you'll see the slight shifting. It's amazing how this just lines those right up. If you've never used the shimmer paper, it is gorgeous. And I'm going to use that to make my snowflake. And this is our Snow Flurry from Big's Die from our holiday catalog. And I've cut 2 pieces at 2 3/8 inch square. And I'm going to use the Scott's tape to hold that down so that it doesn't shift at all, because this isn't a huge pieces of cardstock. I think this is so beautiful. And now just pull those apart. I don't know if y'all can see the shimmer on those or not, but we're going to add a little bit more shimmer because I'm a glitter girl. So I am adding glitter to the tips of these, but not in the center. You don't need to put it in the center because you'll be putting a button there. And just coat it really well in our dazzling diamonds. Once you get that all covered, tap off the excess and set that aside to dry. I love the weight of this shimmering cardstock. It's heavier. It's much heavier than our Berry Vanilla. In fact, it's even heavier, I would have to say, than our other cardstock. Has a really nice weight to it for working with something like this. Okay, let's check that out. And it looks like to me they've used a Naturals button. And wow, it's right on top. That's what we're looking for. We're going to match it up. But wouldn't that be beautiful? I love these buttons. I'm using the linen thread, and if you've seen on one of my other videos, I take the thread and cording and I put it on a glue stick and rub it in and then rub that together so that it's very easy to work through your buttons. And also another little tip is put down a glue dot and put your button on that, and then it's not going to be bouncing around while you're trying to tie this bow. And once you get that all tied, put your finger in the center and even those off, and then trim off your edges so it's the same length. Now I'm using 1 1/2 of the dimensionals. 2 is just too much. It goes off the edge. And now stagger those snowflakes. And I'm going to show you a cute little tip here. Take your finger and put just behind that snowflake and have your left finger just at the point of that, and you will push those forward. Really, really looks cool to do it that way. And if you're not understanding exactly what I'm saying, just be sure on any of this information, just be sure and email me. I'd be happy to walk you through it. I put 2 glue dots on the back of my button. Now I'm securing that. And what I'm doing here is I'm putting a little bit of the two-way glue right in the center. I want to make sure that button stays in a nice bow and does not loosen. Now my glue gun is old, but it may not look so pretty, but it really works. And I started using it when it was still kind of cool so that the glue would come out more in clumps. I want this to be mounted up. I don't want it to be real liquefied. I want it to mount up so that it'll fill in that center portion. So I've put it onto where the ornament is and on the back of the snowflake so that it raises that up. This is our handheld punch, and I'm going to punch a couple little holes in one of my petals. And when you tie off this linen thread, be generous. You know, you may think, oh, I don't want it quite that long. Well, you don't know how long you need it to dangle down at this point, so make it maybe even a little bit longer than what you think. You can always go back in and shorten it. Girls, thank you so much, and I hope you've enjoyed this and hope you'll try this technique. And until next time,